Thank you for listening to the Business Blast podcast. So for all my listeners out there that have been wanting to do your own podcast, I'd like to introduce to you Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. So before I found Anchor, I had never actually done a podcast because all the research that I had gathered made it seem very complex. Then I found Anchor, and Anchor makes podcasting extremely simple. So if you want to do your own podcast, go to anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I have a very good friend with me, Calvin Witcher. He is a spiritual teacher, prophet, and author with an international community. He helps people heal from the past, understand the present, and prepare for the future. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. Hello, everyone.
Of course, man. We're grateful to have you here. So, Calvin, the first question we ask on the show is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Wow, the best story is for me personally or for my clients and leaders that I work with? That's a really good question.
From you personally.
Me personally, I love that. So the shortened version of this story is that, because a lot of what I do is work in the supernatural, really what a spirit's saying for your life or your business. And I've gone through that personal journey over my life so many different times. But one of the stories that, really sticks out to me the most is when I really got the urge to move to California. Not really of my own. I say God told me. And long story short, on that, ended up moving about 5 or 6 months later. And in the process of that, lost like one car, got scammed out of an apartment, almost $4,000. It really was almost 8 months 8 days from being homeless. And the moral of the story is that we didn't end up homeless, that everything worked out well. And we went from literally following this crazy, energy and voice that said move to California, and really got there with nothing, to turning that around, making lemonade out of lemons. And right now we have a really good life and, children and really thriving business and all is well. So yeah, moral of the story is that sometimes you take those crazy leaps and risk and it works out. So just keep faith.
Yes, man. And then the next one I have for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Perfect. I think following up after that story is, I say this quite often, that you're not in trouble, you're in transition. That a lot of the leaders and entrepreneurs I work with tend to always find themselves in the crossroads of either some kind of change or challenge. And when I'm working with them, I'm always helping them to find the clarity of what they're going through. It doesn't always seem like that. So yeah, whatever you're going through, you're just in transition. It's not a point of trouble. Just stay steady.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And then what is your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
That's perfect, especially for business side of things. I will always say, follow the congruence. The cash will always follow. That a lot of times in business, people are following strategies. They're following all kinds of tactics and things like that, which are great. They're wonderful. I still do business coaching, but I always lead from a place of what's congruent with you. What's congruent with your core calling that I often say. What is your message that you're trying to get out there? You can always build a cash model off of that process. But if you're not happy, that's just going to extend to your employees. It's going to extend to your clients. Eventually, it's going to extend throughout your business. So you might as well embody that level of excitement and passion yourself, and then let that just trickle down throughout your whole, organization.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Take more risks. Be a little more courageous. I would tell my younger self that this whole thing works out, and quite honestly, you just can't mess it up. So just keep on going.
Yeah. And then, in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
The key to happiness is learning how to ignore everything except for what's always been speaking to you. As a child, as an adult, I think that we all have this voice inside of us that's always, really urging us to be at our fullest self. And if you just follow that particular voice, it's oftentimes still and small and sometimes very, very faint. But if you follow that, you'll be just fine.
And then what is the best book that you've read, and what's the number one thing you learned from that?
Wow, the number one book I have ever read. I read a lot of, business books, self-help books, everything from, Brenda Bashard books, things like that. Since I always work in spirituality a lot, I tend to go back to the Bible a lot. Very interesting enough. Its principles are timeless. The wisdom in there is just ancient, but still applicable to everyday life. And so, I find myself still going back to that. And I find that even whether you're religious or not, or spiritual or not, the principles still hold very, very true, especially in business and finance. So, that's my number one book.
And then what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote, probably, I think it's from Proverbs, and it says that a person's gift makes room for them and brings them into influence. And I use it a lot in what I do, working on a personal and professional level, really, that I'm always teaching people that you're gifted to do something in this particular life configuration. And if you just stay on the course of that, if you just learn to identify what those gifts are, then the gift is not just for other people, but it's also for you. It helps you to find your significance. It helps you to know that you're special here in the world. And through that level of significance, you expand yourself. And that expansion opens doors for you. And that's your unique selling point. So, it's Proverbs, and your gift makes room for you and brings you into influence and gives you access.
Yes, brother. Well, dude, Thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is, where can our audience best find you online?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question. I am literally on all social media platforms. Just look up Calvin Whitcher. That's Witcher. Yes, it's a family name. I did not make that up. I feel like I get that often. And then obviously you can go to my website, which is just calvinwhitcher.com.
Perfect, brother. Thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.